Hi, everyone. Um, Welcome. I know that I gave you guys like basically zero notice about this live. So I very much appreciate those of you who are present, who have been able to come and sit with me for this time. We're going to talk about, well, first I'm going to talk about sort of the astrology energies of October. We are entering eclipse season, and October has there's kind of there's a lot, and I wanted to take this time to sit with you. But we're not just going to talk about the astrology. We're also going to talk about the allies from the various kingdoms that have stepped forward and really wanted me to bring them to you as potential friends and allies that you can get to know, and maybe you can see if and how they show up for you during this month. I'm also going to share some ritual ideas. I'm going to read you a story. We're going to talk about ways to connect with this time of year outside of the Astro. It's like it almost feels at this uh, juncture that there's like the Astro, and then there's what the wheel of the year is asking of us, what this this darker time as we step into sort of the time of year that is associated with dream time, release, our ancestors. And October also hosts our third and final harvest, and what that means for us. So I will open it up for questions, comments, shares for those of you who are live with me now. Those parts will be edited out for your privacy when I upload this to YouTube. So just so you know, you can share freely in this space and your privacy will be respected. For those of you who are not in the Deep Divers private community or are in Josie's Gateway to Gaia, I invite you to come and join us and walk with us through the month of October and continue the conversation. So, first things first, let's talk a little bit about how the planets and the cosmos will be working with us this month. We have the new moon solar eclipse in Libra at 21 degrees of Libra on October 14th. And then October 28th, a Taurus full moon lunar eclipse. That's a blood moon on Samhain weekend. That will be at 5 degrees of Taurus. Now, something that's really interesting about this eclipse season is that both eclipses are Venus ruled. So that tells us that connecting with our own relationship with our natal Venus, the sign and house that it is in, the aspects it's making, especially if there are prominent hard aspects, like say with the nodes or an outer planet, these themes will likely be calling to each of us in their individual flavor throughout this month. Now, eclipse season is, I always say this, that not every full moon, not every new moon is hugely transformational for everyone. A lot of times it is an internal experience, or it's an opportunity to take advantage of the energies that are there, to nurture us in whichever ways are most alive in us at that moment. We did just come off of this very powerful Aries full moon, and I will tell you that this full moon was exactly opposing my natal Pluto. It was quite lovely in my life. It's been wonderful. However, your girl is not sleeping very well. Very, very tired, not feeling particularly smart today. So I am curious how eloquent I will be. You may have noticed on my full moon video, I was speaking rather slowly, which I'm a Southern girl. I speak slowly anyway, but my pace is a lot slower right now because I'm just not sleeping well. But other than that, the energy has been beautiful for me personally. But the reason I'm saying this is because looking at it, saying, oh, this is a powerful Aries full moon opposing your Pluto Ananda that could be intense, that could be revealing something that could be really uncomfortable. And, you know, there was a minor thing revealed, but it's not that big of a deal. So I'm sharing this so that, you know, we can manage our expectations, we can manage the hype, we can manage any fear that we may have as we step into a month that is eclipse season. We have Pluto stationing direct. We have a lot of squares with Pluto, which, you know, is an amped up type of energy. So, you know, let's stay grounded and let's, more than anything, connect with the deeper energies of the season. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, or this live, because I have a tendency to get really into details. I'm a Virgo sun. I have, you know, my Mars is in Gemini. I've got you know, the mental figuring things out, getting into details. I can get lost in that spinning sometimes. And my life, my spirit, the spirit of my business, have been very clear with me about zooming out a little bit and sort of being a little bit more general with the mental stuff and more devoted and dedicated to the deeper cycles, to the natural cycles, to my allies, to my ancestors, my spirit council. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so okay, I hope you are comfortable. Please, it may be helpful to get like a notebook or something. I'm going to give you some dates where some of these energies will be arriving. That way you can have it in one place and do what you do. So the eclipses are October 14th and October 28th. Now, it's interesting because I know I mentioned that Venus is kind of the ruler of the month. However, astrologically, other than ruling these eclipses, Venus is one of the quieter planets as far as her geometry with the other planets. On October 10th, she will oppose Saturn. That is also the same day that Pluto will station direct. So that's pretty interesting because when Venus opposes Saturn, this can create kind of a sobering moment where we become aware of something that kind of, it's not necessarily a warm, fuzzy feeling. It can heighten our awareness of lack and limitations in our heart space or in the way we are being perceived or the way we are able to express ourselves. And because that's Pluto's station day, Pluto's energy will be amplified around that time. So a lot of times the world can get a little weird on these station days, especially of outer planet station days. So this is a day to just kind of be aware of whatever lack mentality comes into your mind, not to judge that lack mentality, but to get to the bottom of it and see what it's really about. See how you can make choices to get your own needs met. And then to also know just that Pluto stationing that day, and it could be an amplified type of energy with anxiety perhaps, or feeling a little down. So that's the 10th. Other than that, Venus is doing lovely things. On the 22nd, she will trine Jupiter. That's the same day that Mercury enters Scorpio, and Mercury will trine Saturn. So this is actually the 22nd, a lovely day. It is the day, because Mercury will enter Scorpio, there will be a bit of a Plutonian energy, but Venus trining Jupiter is one of the luckiest, most benefic aspects between these two planets. It's lovely. This is a lovely energy. And with Mercury trining Saturn, we have, our minds are feeling steady. We're feeling upbeat. We're feeling generous. This is a good day to make any agreements, to sign contracts, to buy a lottery ticket, and to have any conversations that you really need to go well. This would be a really good day to handle something, tackle something that maybe you've been feeling a little anxious or stressed out, or have been putting on the back burner. The planets will be very supportive on this day for those conversations. So that's the 22nd. And then on Samhain, on the 31st, Venus will trine Uranus, another beautiful energy. Get out there and have some fun energetically. Samhain looks beautiful on that day. However, the eclipse day around the 28th, we do have some things to talk about there that I will show you in a moment. So that's Venus. That's really our guide for the month, and that's what she's doing. And as you can see, she's offering us a lot of support. So whatever else may be going on, Venus is there as a helper. I skipped ahead a little bit talking about Venus, but she really is the guide, so that feels right to me. So let's talk about the sun for a moment. There are 2 days where the sun and moon will be trining each other. That will be the 3rd and the 24th. Those are days that our inner world, our outer world will be in harmony, so we can look forward to feeling good on those days. The sun will enter Scorpio on the 23rd, and that those degrees around 0 degrees of Scorpio is a really special degree, and then also 2 degrees of Scorpio, because that is a very powerful galactic degree. So there's something to recognize when planets first enter Scorpio. There can be a certain gravitational pull that you may feel in one direction or another. And that gravitational pull can pull you into a space that feels like chaos, but it's only because it's new. It's actually, I often use like video game words when I'm talking about this, because it's as if we up level. I don't love, having hierarchical ideas about this, but this is really the best way I can describe it. It's as if we up level, we enter a totally new realm, and because we don't know the landscape, we feel like we're messing up. But the truth is that we've just walked into a room we've never been before, and we don't know what the vibe is. We don't have the map. We don't know where the bathroom is. We don't know where we don't know how to get a glass of water. So if you feel this when the sun enters Scorpio, or maybe even when Mercury enters Scorpio, just know that that's actually a good sign. It means that you have broken through a barrier that probably you've been wanting to break through for a long time. And don't judge your environment or your situation too quickly. Find your way around and then give it a good assessment, if you know what I mean. Okay. On October 11th, the sun will oppose Chiron. This, whenever there is like a hard aspect with the sun and Chiron, our identity is what comes up, and we may become aware of ways that we have projected our identity onto something else or allowed that to happen to us, where we are, say, rather than identifying as our own sacred self, we're identifying as a family member or as the job that we do or as some sort of wound we're healing from, like all of these other ways that we identify ourselves that are not actually us. They are outside of us. So with this opposition with Chiron, it's an opportunity to become aware of that and then to deeply heal it and come home to ourselves more. And that's always a good thing. On the 20th, we have a Cazimi with Sun and Mercury. Now, that day is rather wild because not only will the sun conjunct Mercury, but Mercury will square Pluto and the sun will also be squaring Pluto. So this is one of those Pluto squares. So this, I'm really curious how this day is going to feel, or how the energy around this day is going to feel, because in a square with Mercury and Pluto, there can be a type of compulsion to force our ideas on other people, or vice versa. There's like this, really needing people to think like we do, or other people are really needing us to think like they do. And so there can be this kind of pushiness or push of ideas or belief systems, which is really a type of control. And really, whenever there's any kind of square with Pluto, there is the potential to come up against power struggles, power dynamics, potential manipulation. Manipulation is not always intentional. It's often not intentional. But it's still good when we learn to recognize that in ourselves and in others as well, because it's not in alignment with our sovereignty, is it? So we get this opportunity to grow, as always. So that's the 20th. The square with Sun and Pluto will be exact on the 21st. So that whole, 19th, 20th, 21st, will have that energy. So that's something to know about. Okay. So I'm going to kind of break it down into weeks, just for ease, because I can really get lost in the details, and I'm desperately trying not to do that. So as we open up the month, the first week of October, we have a bit of a dreamy kind of start with a Mercury Neptune opposition, and then a Mercury trine with Pluto, and the Sun trine Moon on the 3rd. Now on the 4th, Mercury will enter Libra, which means that Mercury will be entering the realm of the supergalactic center, which is a place of gravitational insatiability. So on this day, or not just this day, but the days before and the days after, notice if you feel an insatiable hunger for something. A lot of times when the supergalactic center is activated, if we're left to our own devices, we can sort of step into an energy of escapism or overconsumption. what the supergalactic center really wants to be fed with, what that hunger really is wisdom. So with Mercury entering this space, we may have a better time gathering wisdom and feeding that hunger with helpful things, right? However, on the 4th, we also have a conjunction with Mars and the South Node. Okay. So this day could feel a little weird. And of course, it's not just this day. It's the, a day before, day after, several days before, several days after. Mars and the South Node conjunct can bring out ways that we misuse our energy. And because that's happening at the same time as Mercury will be entering Libra and conjunct the supergalactic center, we may actually be more likely to say, have our passions go sideways, or our human hungers, if you know what I mean. So take note of that. And if you feel that, then you'll know why. And you'll also know that it will pass, which is a really helpful thing to know. On the 8th, Mars will square Pluto and Venus enters Virgo. So again, Mars and Pluto, even though Venus is our really major guide, Mars and Pluto are very loud this month. And a lot of the allies who have stepped forward to work with us this month are connected with Mars, which was really interesting to see. So Mars, Pluto with a square, power struggles, using our energy responsibly. This is an energy that can take us into compulsion, manipulation, power struggles. And it's such a powerful amount of energy that it's easy for this energy to go to like pop off in directions that we don't really want it to go to. This is a day to make sure you give yourself extra time. Don't be in a rush if you have to be out in the world, and just know that it's kind of a gnarly vibe. So if other people are off with you, if you're feeling fine, but other people seem to be way off, give them some grace, give yourself some grace. And, don't let, just because this energy is happening, don't become a victim to it. Meaning, you don't have to go looking for a fight, but hold your ground if necessary. You know what I mean? Stand up for yourself. Be dangerous if messed with. Yeah. So then on the 10th, we have Venus opposing Saturn, as I mentioned, and Pluto stationing direct. So already we're 10 days into October, and we've already had Mars conjunct the South Node, Mars square Pluto, and now Pluto stationing direct. Okay, so the first couple days starting off a little dreamy, little, in the ethers, a little tired from the Aries full moon, like I said, but things get cooking pretty fast. Then the 11th, we have that Sun opposing Chiron, bringing our identity situation to the forefront of our minds to heal some of that, to see where we are identifying ourselves with things that are not us, are not ours. It's a beautiful healing opportunity. The 11th through the 12th, Mars enters Scorpio. Mars will be at that fusion point of Scorpio, connecting with the Shapley supercluster. Huge amplification of Mars energy. We're going to be digging things up, which, that's the time of year we're in. This is when things are meant to be revealed, because we're meant to discard what doesn't get to come with us for the rest of our Dreamtime months, right? So it's good to know what we're dealing with, truths to be revealed are a benefit, even if we don't like the truth, because then we know what we're dealing with, and that's a gift. So then on the 14th, we have our Libra new moon solar eclipse. Mercury will be opposing Chiron. So we have this awareness of healing and identity. And on a greater scale, this eclipse, this new moon solar eclipse, begins an entire 12 months of relationship focus. Over the next 12 months, regardless of what happens in October, over the next 12 months, many, many people will be healing their relationship wounds. People will be finding each other. People will be ending relationships that needed to end a long time ago so they can seek more fulfilling experiences. This is truly going to change the landscape of our love lives, and not so much in a romantic way, because Libra is not particularly a romantic energy, but it's more concerned with the agreements of partnership, the rituals of partnership, the balance and karmic reaping that we do when we are in relationships. Okay. So then the 20th, we have the Sun Mercury Cazimi and Mercury squaring Pluto. 21st, Sun square Pluto, talked about that. And then we are in the last week of the month where the Sun enters Scorpio. We have our full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. Now, this is really where I want to sort of spend more time digging into some things, because this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus has a Mars-Mercury conjunction, and they are both opposing Jupiter, okay? This is so much energy. I am kind of expecting some sort of event in the world that catches all of our attention. And I'm going to show you something, actually. Let me get this up. So this chart, this is a graph that I make available for each month in the Deep Divers community. And what it does is it maps this visual out for us of the 6 major astrological vibrations or harmonics in harmonic astrology. And, you know, we have the key down here, and it gives us a basic understanding of what these mean. So what I really want to draw our attention to is this spike right here. This is the 7 and 14 harmonic. And this is a tremendous spike. This is a significant energy. And this is happening, I mean, on this graph, it's showing on the 29th, which is the day after that our full moon lunar eclipse. And it is the day of the exact Mars-Jupiter conjunction. And they are opposing, Mercury-Mars conjunction, and they are opposing Jupiter. So a 7-14 energy, it says here, inner wisdom, depth, and discipline. And usually what happens is that it's an energy that makes us pause for a moment, where we experience something that kind of stops us in our tracks. And this can be a personal experience, or it can be something that happens in the world that we all experience together. And when it's the 14 vibration, that's more of a group experience. So this is just a day to kind of have in, you know, the end of the month could be very intense, and truly the whole month could be quite intense. Okay, so with all of that going on in the Astro, so we have these allies, these guides that have been very loud in my consciousness that wanted to walk with us this month. Of course, we have the fixed stars Spica and Arcturus, who will be very present for us this month. Spica carries a very maternal, mothering, protective type of energy. And she also helps us become aware of our boundaries, which is always nice. And Arcturus, I always feel the energy of the star Arcturus as if like the cosmic druids. There's just such an incredible wisdom stream that comes from this star. And if you get a chance to find Arcturus in the sky, if you give a little, if you can focus your eyes for a while, sometimes you can see these geometric patterns that Arcturus sends down, and there's just the availability of connection with these beings that are the stars is so powerful. So I challenge you to see if you can, use one of those apps, find Arcturus in the sky, and connect and see what's there for you, because they are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful beings. The animal allies that stepped forward this month were really cool. There were 3 of them: the falcon, the peregrine falcon, the monarch butterfly, and goose. And the falcon is connected with both Mars and the sun. And what this ally helps us do is take up space and strategize. My son and I were riding in the car. We were coming home from school and we were stopped at a red light for just like a ridiculously long time. It was a very long red light. And I look over and there's this falcon hanging out on the wires, on the electric lines, cars everywhere, just like total citified chaos. And the falcon paid no attention to all the human activity nonsense that was going on and was laser beam focused on something happening in the stream below him, and it just unapologetically being there, being like, I'm existing, I'm taking up this space, and I don't even care if you see me strategizing. So this is connected with the sun, the sign Leo, and also Mars. So this tells us that with all of this Pluto Mars energy this month, we can use this to expand in spaces that we are meant to expand in. And, not everyone is meant to expand. Some people need to shrink a little bit. And then for some of us, there are places in our lives we need to expand, and then places we need to shrink a little bit. And it's up to us to know the difference. But the places we're meant to take up more space, Falcon is here this month to help us do that. Monarch butterfly and goose, both migratory beings. And this is part of their migratory cycle. Now, it never ceases to amaze me, the connections between things when these beings start showing up. Because one of the allies from the mineral kingdom that stepped forward is Lodestone or Magnetite. And, we have Magnetite in our brains. I have a piece right here. So Magnetite is basically, it is a magnetic iron ore, I think. It's magnetic. And as it's called Lodestone, which is connected to, the north. So this is how compasses are made. This is how geese know where to migrate. This is how the instinctual nature of beings works. It's one of the ways. And we have this in our brains. There's something like we have 7 million particles of magnetite in an ounce of brain tissue. Is that right? That sounds crazy. I feel like that's right. Magnetite is an iron oxide mineral that occurs naturally in the earth, right? Yes, magnetite in the human brain in its crystalline form allows us to, this is how we sense the Earth's magnetic field. It's literally in our brain. It is a part of our natural makeup that it's part of our connection to this Earth. So, okay. So there's this really cool practice that I want to share with you, and I hope that you will try it and let me know how it works. Okay. So I taught this in a workshop that I did in the Deep Divers about, I think it was the scrying workshop, I think. Maybe, I forget. But if you know which direction is north, okay, face north, take your shoes off, put your feet on the ground and face north, okay? And just kind of get stabilized, get grounded, feel yourself in your body. Have someone hand you a piece of paper that says something in it that you don't know. It's a yes or no question, and you don't know what it says, okay? So hold that piece of paper and then feel what your body does. Feel if your body wants to move in one direction or another, okay? In like the old timers in Appalachia, this is one of their sort of like old timer magic-y things where you can use your body to dowse for yes or no. And I'm believing that it's magnetite that helps us know that. So some people find that they lean forward towards north for a yes, backwards, south for a no. Some people it's side to side, some people it's reverse. See if you can tap into this, and then you actually have your body as a dowsing tool anytime you need it. How cool is that? Oh, it's cool. That's so cool. Magnetite. Oh, magnetite. Okay. So monarch butterfly, goose, peregrine falcon, those are our animal allies. And I've already spoken about lodestone, magnetite. The other one is ruby. Ruby. Where's my ruby? I have a giant ruby. Here it is. That lives on my desk. And, you know, ruby is also connected with, she's just a rough ruby that came straight out of these mountains. And you can see right here, this little shiny bit right there. Rubies, most of them are record keepers. They hold ancient wisdom. So the wisdom that they carry is incredibly ancient. And they're connected with, again, the sun and Mars, falcons. So again, we have this request or guidance to not forget who we are this month, to not forget who we are, where we've come from, our ancestral lines. We are the wish come true. We are the harvest of our ancestors. We're the harvest. We are what they worked for. Don't forget who you are. This is a stone of royalty. So, okay. And then our plant allies, marigolds, connected to our ancestors. And also, for me anyway, sorry, I've got a hair stuck in my mouth. For me, marigolds are also connected to monarchs, because this time of year, marigolds are the only flowers left that are in my garden. and the monarchs come in October for the marigolds. So I think that's pretty special. And of course, cultures all over the world offer marigolds to their ancestors this time of year. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And corn. Now, I was not surprised when corn stepped forward, because this is, of course, the harvest. October does host the final harvest, where we are literally or metaphorically harvesting seeds. We are culling. This is when our ancestors would slaughter the animals that they could not afford to feed through the winter, but also to provide food for the family. So this is when we decide what gets to come with us. And corn has been sacred to human beings for as long as we know. There's a myth, there's an Aztec myth where the Aztec people wanted corn, but they couldn't get it. They could see it like over the mountains. They couldn't get to it. Many gods had tried to go get the corn for the people and were not successful. And so they came to Quetzalcoatl and asked if he could get the corn for them. And so he said, yeah, sure, I'll try. Sure. Quetzalcoatl is an amazing, loving being. So of course he would try. So where the other gods had tried to use force to conquer the mountain that was in the way, or to use brute strength to get the corn, Quetzalcoatl used strategy. Again, back to Falcon. He turned himself into an ant and was able to easily get to the other side of the mountain on the outskirts of the city where the corn was. He was able to climb up and gather one grain of corn that he brought back to the people. And they then had access to corn, and in their subsequent flourishing was associated with having corn. And then there's also, I believe, a story of corn being connected to the creation of human beings as well. So a lot of beauty there. And this is where the spirit of the season asks us to connect with the land where we are, or not all of us feel particularly connected to the land where we are. So this can also be the land where you were born, or any land that you have visited, spent time on, that felt particularly nourishing. Okay, that's the key here. You want to connect with a place on this planet that has felt nourishing, like home. Okay, so decide where your focus will be and find a story about that land. Find out a myth, a legend, or something about the history of that land. For me, this is Cherokee land, and I would like to read you a story about the Corn Woman spirit. And this comes from this book, The Origin of the Milky Way, and Other Living Stories of the Cherokee. And it's by, collected by, there are various people telling stories here, but collected by Barbara Duncan. Okay, so this is the Corn Woman spirit as told by Freeman Owl. So he says, this story gives some respect to the women in the tribe. There's a story of the Corn Woman, and she is a spirit that is sent down from heaven every year to come and walk in the fields of the Cherokee. And when she walked in the fields, the corn began to grow, and it grew tall and beautiful. The Cherokee corn is a corn that is very, very special, because it is a corn that has 10 rows of kernels on it, and most other ears have 13. So we that are familiar with, and others have 13 that we are familiar with today. So the Cherokee corn will grow almost 10 feet tall, and on those stalks it will have 3 or 4 ears of corn, where most other kinds of stalks have only 1 or 2. And it's beautiful in color. It's all the colors of the rainbow. And many people ask, how did you paint that? The Cherokee ate it. It's a very good corn. Anyway, this corn woman would walk in the fields and the corn would grow beautifully. One year, they planted their corn and had gone out to watch it come up, but it didn't come up. And they waited a week and then 2 weeks, and it still hadn't come up. So they prayed to the Great Spirit and asked where the corn woman spirit was. And he said that he had sent her down 2 weeks before, but she was missing. And so the people began to look, and they looked all over the earth known to them at that time, and they couldn't find her. So they began to ask the animal kingdom if they would help search for her. So all the animals were searching for this beautiful corn woman spirit, when all of a sudden the raven dived down into a dark cave and was looking for her. And he found her in the bottom of the cave, all tied up. She was captured and prisoner by the evil spirit Hunger, capital H. And he was dancing around her and laughing, knowing very well that if she didn't get out, that the Cherokee people would starve the coming winter. So the raven went back and reported to the people that he had found the corn woman's spirit, and they told the raven that only he and his family could get her free. So they told him to go down into the cave and perch on the ledges and hide from the evil spirit. And he did. He took all of his brothers and sisters into the cave, and they were so black they couldn't be seen by the evil spirit Hunger. And they perched on the ledges and the rocks. When the signal was given, they all leapt down and pecked the evil spirit. They made such terrible noises that they frightened him out into the sunlight. And like most evil, when he hit the sunlight, he just melted away and disappeared. They freed the corn woman spirit with their big, strong beaks. And when she walked out into the sunlight, the corn of the Cherokee began to grow. From that day forward, the Great Spirit in the heavens would not let her come down in person. And so it is today. So when you look out at the cornfields and see the stalks of corn and their leaves waving in the wind, you'll know that corn woman spirit is walking through the fields of today. The Cherokee give the raven a very special place, that he was the one that saved the fields of the Cherokee. So therefore, they feel that if he takes a few kernels of corn, that's okay. But if the raven is in the field and an animal comes into the field, the crows and the ravens will pitch such a fit that the people will know that someone is stealing their corn, so they can go down and chase them away. So I imagine it's all in the way you look at animals in the circle of life, as to whether they're necessary or need to be destroyed. The Cherokee people saw the importance of all animals and all people, and so therefore they had a very special place. And that story, I feel, is told to teach those lessons. Thank you, Freeman Owl. One of the thing about stories that are handed down like this, these oral traditions, is that each one of them is like an entire curriculum. Like at the end, he says, he thinks the story is about, respecting animals. But when I hear that story, I hear so many other lessons. One of them being when the evil spirit Hunger steps into the sunlight, that it just disappears. And that metaphor of October, Pluto, Mars, digging eclipse season, bringing things into the light is what neutralizes them. And we have access to a healing that we did not have access to before. So we should never fear what is being revealed by the sun. Whatever comes out of those dark caves, you know, there's always a gift. There's always a key to a new type of freedom. So that's the story of the land where I live that I wanted to share with you today. And I would love it if you take on this homework. I would love if you would share the stories that you discover, or the histories, or the legends, because this is the time of year for that. Say the sacredness of the land and our connection to it. Now, I have one more suggestion or way that you may wish to celebrate the month of October, and that is by creating an altar. And today I'm recording this on October 1st. There are two ways I'm going to propose that you could do this. One way would be to begin with an empty canvas, a place that you can clear everything away, and you can add one thing each day. So for instance, I made my October candle. I make my candles to look super weird and rustic and witchy. So this is my October candle. This will be my first item that will go on my October altar. But if putting something on each day for a whole month feels overwhelming, you can break it up into weeks, where like maybe the first week, maybe you add things that help you feel connected with the natural world. Like, what are the plants and animals doing? What are the stars? What's the sun and moon doing? Or maybe items to represent these allies that have stepped forward for us for October. The second week, you could add maybe personal touches, family photos, memories of the season, things that feel personal to you. The third week, you could add maybe objects that represent your deities, your gods and goddesses, or legends, the land where you live, stories, ghost stories, spooky things that represent your connection with the other world, because the veil is disappearing as we speak. So we have more access to those energies. And then on the fourth week, you could add items honoring your ancestors, photos of them, marigolds, anything that feels meaningful to you when you think of your ancestors. And this doesn't have to be blood tie ancestors. These can be spiritual ancestors. These can be social ancestors, you know, things that are meaningful to your culture, the groups that you identify with, et cetera, et cetera. Those are our ancestors too. And then it's another beautiful time to engage in cord cutting. The cord cutting ritual that I've put together, I am happy to send anyone for free who likes it. Cord cutting is not a negative thing. It is a freedom-based thing. And as we walk through this month, everything that happens every day will be revealing something more that we can release, that we can cull from our lives, so that we enter into the Dreamtime cave with less baggage. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I have for you. I'm going to stop talking myself and open up the circle. And if you were not here in the beginning, know that when I upload this video, your privacy will be honored. I will edit out what, you know, your part to protect your privacy and to protect the integrity of this sacred space. So I will do that now. So I'm going to close this out. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching the recording. Happy October. It's spooky season. It's my, this is the time of year where I come alive the most. And I'm very excited to see who we all are come Samhain, because we will not be the same beings who just enjoyed this beautiful Aries full moon. So much love, everyone.